Baik, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. So topik kita pada hari ini adalah sedikit berkaitan dengan landscape, ya, kerja-kerja landscape. Right. So the landscape works, right, can be defined that as any activities that enhances the outdoor environment. So when we talk about construction, obviously the addition of features lah, right, to the outdoor environment that enhances its functionality. So it can also be defined as a painted view of the land which comprises of landscape art, depicts scenery such as mountain, valleys, trees, rivers, and other visible features. Okay, so that includes physical elements such as landform, living elements of flora and fauna, for instance, of human activity or for built environment. So basically, we are like recreating the natural environment in a confined space, right? Depends on what the owner wants, right? So we can have features such as to represent rivers. We can have some water features to represent forests. We can have some trees to be planted, certain species of trees, and to have like some built features. We can have gazebo and things like that. So the issue is the landscape is both science and art. So we can't say that these features has to be like this and like that. Usually it depends on what the owner wants or what the landscape architect have in mind for that particular project. So it requires good observation and design skills, and as well a good experience, right? So this usually comes from the usually landscape architect's experience and his communication with the owners. So a good landscaper understands the element of nature and construction and blends them accordingly. All right. So what are the features that they want to reflect in that confined space, confined outdoor space? So the landscaper or landscape architect needs to be able to express that in his design and to be approved by the owners. So landscape refers to any activity that modifies the visible features of an area of land. So we are modifying it, we are changing its function, the appearance, right? So it includes living elements, okay, such as flora or fauna, which is commonly referred to as gardening. So when we talk about gardening, more towards the plants, the shrubberies, and the flowers, things like that. And in terms of fauna, maybe the animals that comes in to enjoy the landscape features such as birds and things like that. Natural elements such as landforms, terrain, shape, and elevation or bodies of water. So these are like um, natural elements that is being highlighted in that landscape work. It might be there naturally, or it might be some features that has been added, right? So landforms, we might have like a bit of a hilly area, or we might have what you call a small lake, um, a small river that flows. We might These are some of the features that can be there or added later on. Human elements such as structures, buildings, fences, or other material objects created or installed by humans. So these are features that was not there before, but we added uh, into the landscape work. So we might have, as I said, a small gazebo, um, or we might have a small fence, or such as picket fences, or a low stone wall, or we might have pathway. Okay, uh, so to make it easier for people to walk around. So these are non-natural features that has been added later on. And then abstract elements such as weather and lighting conditions. So a certain way of um, building or preparing the landscape works. You're having the trees that are tall, or trees that are very wide with very large canopy, can create a certain lighting conditions or certain mood in that particular area. So this is where like the art aspect of the landscape work comes in. Okay, so for that we can divide landscape works into two categories, two types. We have soft landscape and hard landscape. Okay, or softscape and hardscape. So soft landscape refers to the elements of landscape that comprise of leaf horticultural elements. So they include flowers, trees, shrubs, climbers or climbing plants, ground covers, and creepers. So these are softscapes because we can say that they are quite delicate lah. So that's why it's being called that. Basically, they are all the living elements, plants, trees, things like that. Okay, so an example. Okay, we have flowers there, and for hard landscape, there are structural elements built by humans, such as pergolas, gazebos, pavement rocks lah usually, sculpture, furniture, light fixture, fountain decks. Okay, so this is also water feature, bridge, and other related utilities, including the buildings. So these are some of the hard landscape. Some of them we can exactly see that it is man-made, and some of them, like this one, they are the first photo. They are trying to make it the rock as natural, but it is obviously man-made. Okay, the plant's functional roles. So, as a wind shelter, where the vegetation can reduce the wind speed over building because it is flexible and semi-permeable, and careful location of hedges can help to maximize the use of an exposed site. So by having these plants, shrubberies, things like that, we can protect the structure from high winds, especially when we have very tall trees, things like that. Um, it really helps in terms of um, stormy weather, things like that. And then in terms of air quality, um, they take up groundwater and release it back into the atmosphere, cooling the air and increase humidity. They take up in carbon dioxide and produce oxygen. Okay, that's for the trees, and leaf surface trap as an air traps airborne dust. So by having basically a lot, like a single tree won't be able to create this feature, but having a group of plants being um, planted around your property with a mix of tall trees, medium, and shrubberies, things like that, they can improve the air quality around that particular building. So the easy way to see this, when we like go back to the village, balik kampung dan sebagainya, you can feel, okay, especially for in rural areas, you can feel that the air quality there is a lot better. It is a lot, the environment is a lot cooler. Temperature is not that high during afternoon and things like that. So these effects come from the masses of plants and vegetation around that, but around the village area lah. Okay, and also another role is for soil stabilization. So plants provide the effective protection against against erosion by binding the soil surface with their roots. Grasses are particularly effective, and they are often used because they establish quickly and develop an extensive fibrous root system. So this also depends on the type of plant that we are using. Of course, um, normally plants have like two types of roots. Okay, satu akar tunjang dan akar rambut. So if you want to protect the soil, and the protection goes very deep, so you have to plant trees basically that have that kind of akar tunjang tu lah. But if you just want to protect the surface areas, that will be enough with the plants of small plants and shrubberies and things like that, because dia menggunakan akar rambut, so they hold the surface soil together much better. Okay. So for the plants, we have a number of types. We have trees. They provide shade. They break the force of the wind, especially high winds, and they create a very natural appearance for that landscape area. So it is also important in controlling soil erosion and increases privacy of the building. Okay. So these are some of the obviously grown up trees. So they provide shade, right? Natural shade from the sun. And then we also have shrubs. Shrubs or bush is a horticultural rather than a strict botanical category of woody plant. Distinguished from a tree by its multiple stems and lower in height. Okay, so these are some of the shrubberies that are being planted. Okay, so they create a certain visual features, especially when they are like flowering, right? So okay, very nice feature there. And then we also have hedges. They are smaller than trees and usually have several woody stems. Uh, and then valuable for controlling traffic to define ownership boundaries, provide shelter and reducing wind velocity also. So we can say that the hedges is basically like smaller than trees but a bit larger than the shrubs, right? So we can easily use these hedges to like guide the flow of traffic if you have a very large landscape area, something like this. Okay, so you can see that people will stay on the. First of all, we have the pathway, and then we have hedges at both left and right, so people won't go wander off into the shrubs, right? Okay, next we have climbers or this type of climbing plant used on buildings, walls, or fences. Can also be planted on roof or balconies as to drape downwards. Okay, maksudnya dia tergantung lah daripada atas. Okay, something like this. How it can be very interesting, but in the long run, the climbers is going to affect the wall that it is climbing on because the small roots will start to dig into the plaster lah. So if you are deciding to have like these climbers on your building wall, make sure that that feature is going to be there a very long time. Okay, because if you take out those climbers, most probably you have to redo back the wall finishing, right? And then ground cover plants ataupun rumput-rumput ni lah, right? So the is applied to like small plant which covers the ground. So this is important to retain the slope, the fill up the space where mowing would be difficult and provide good looking. So provide a lawn that does not require mowing. Well, so these are ground cover plants. It might not need mowing, but from time to time it does. It can be trimmed, lah, right? So this ground cover is very important, basically to cover up the soil, surface soil, especially when it is very windy, when it rains a lot. We do not want to have some mud or sludge onto your pathway and things like that. So we have some ground covers lah. All right, so that is very simple introduction on landscape work.